Hey guys, and welcome back to the Fantasy Table brought to you by the Blue Stable. I am your host, Luke Furcamp, and I just want to preface this by saying I'm sorry about last week. Both me and Theo kind of had stuff that happened last second, and there's not really much that we could have done. But anyways, we are back. So Theo, how you doing?
Tired, but it's been a long week. But I'm glad to be doing this now, even though it's kind of later in the night we're doing this because it's still busy. But I yeah, fantasy's been doing great for me recently. On a winning streak in one of my leagues, so things could be better, but things could also be worse.
Yeah, I gotta say in my main league, I am on track to get the first round bye in the playoffs. So I am very
Nice.
happy about that. I'm excited. Um,
Highest points for or no?
Highest points for, um,
Okay.
and also crazily enough, the lowest points against. Which,
Real wow.
yeah, which is kind of a crazy combination because I mean, either way, like I'm doing well by those stats, but yeah, max points for, and I look, Sleeper also has like they can track on your maximum points for that you could have got throughout the season, and I also am the highest in that stat too. So pretty awesome.
See, listen to Luke. He knows the matchup. He knows who to start, who to sit.
Well, this is my dynasty league, so
Oh,
I
you
do
don't have
have,
a choice.
yeah, I do have quite a few years of building that up. Even though I have like four players on IR and three IR spots, so that's not fun. But
After this week too, that's
yeah,
very very realistic for a lot of teams.
yeah, this week has been rough. Which I mean, speaking of, we'll just get straight on into it with the injuries. Darren Waller, Hunter Renfro, Cooper Cup, Dallas Goddard, and Khalil Herbert all got put on the injured reserve. Crazy week. I mean, Cooper Cup being on the IR alone is going to crash a lot of people's teams that drafted him in the first round. Um, but also, like Khalil Herbert, he was one of the surprising running backs this year. He's done very solid for being in a backup role on a not great offense until recently. Not great offense, but also like Goddard really hurts because he was an actual decent tight end in what is very few and far between of. Darren Waller, I know he's been a disappointment this year, but he's still down to tight end, and Renfro really hasn't been anything this year, but he's rostered.
Yeah, the tight ends. I know Ertz. I you have did you mention Ertz or no?
No, I have Ertz later on actually, but yeah, I
Oh,
guess Ertz is a good one to add to that
okay.
too, with him being out. But
Yeah, the tight ends with Goddard and Ertz. I know Mark Andrews has been battling through his injuries as well. So the last really legit tight end left is Travis Kelce. He just perseveres through all. He's been the tight end one. He's the last one standing. And I don't know, I haven't looked at it yet, but after because I know Ertz and Goddard were, I think they were like 3 and 4 for tight end rankings. So I want to know the difference between Kelce and the fifth, like the next one up, because those three tight ends. Well,
are all
Mark
hurt.
Andrews. Well, yeah, Mark Andrews might be playing this week, but I mean he's still banged up. So if he enters the field, he's not going to be 100%. And there's just a lot that shakes up a ton for the playoffs. Trying to get your tight end quickly as possible. Hopefully Cole Kmet still is somehow still on waivers and you could try picking him up. I know he was on some of my waivers this week and I
Hey,
failed to
Cole
get him
Komet
every time.
top five
Yeah,
season
dude,
still alive.
oh my, I messaged Luke that after he scored the 2 touchdowns
Two
last week,
ties,
right?
yeah.
Yep,
But he
and I
also
was
scored two
like,
touchdowns the week before too. So I mean, if he keeps doing that, he's going to be top five pretty
and
quickly.
it's crazy because he had those 2 weeks, those two really good weeks, and he's already jumped up to tight end 7. Like at least in half PPR on ESPN that I was looking at, that's what he was ranked.
He's
And
12 in full PPR.
he's 12 in full PPR. Okay. But still, we were talking about him like through weeks 1 through 4 as like the tight end 153 or something.
He
And
was
we're
so
like,
bad.
sorry guys, so much for telling you about this. No, like all it takes is 2 good games and he's already borderline. Like he's
Yeah.
already inching his way to the hot take top 5. It's crazy.
I mean, it's so funny because it's like he's already a tight end one on the season.
Yep. That's
just
yeah.
just for the past 2 games alone. But either way, to answer your question of like the difference between Kelsey and like those guys. So Kelsey PPR, full PPR, 187.5 points.
Hmm.
Mark Andrews is second with 121.
Hmm.
So 60-point gap. And then after that is Ertz and Goddard to
Yep.
3 and 4. Ertz had 115 and Goddard had 113.
Pretty similar, yeah. Now what's
But
the next
then
one? The next one's what I was wondering about. The number 5.
who's your guess for this?
Oh,
Number 5 tight end on the season.
Hawkinson.
It is Hawkinson at 113 as well.
Oh, okay. That's not that bad.
Yeah, so
I
it's not
guess
that
like
bad.
okay, I kind of forgot Hawkinson had like a couple good games
Well,
himself.
he had that one like 30-point game like earlier on
Yeah,
this year. So a
yeah.
40-point game actually. Yeah.
Is there any drop off from Hawkinson?
Yes.
Okay,
I
what's that?
don't
That's
think you can guess the number 6 tight end. Like
it's not Everett. It's
there's actually like 6 tight ends within 2 points
oh
of
my
each other.
god. I'm just gonna go with the fun one. Just for our Colts fans that are watching. Jelani Woods.
No, it is Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill is next.
Oh my god, I forgot about him.
But Hawkinson had
That's not fair.
113. Yeah. Hawkinson had 113 and Taysom Hill is 83. So that's a big
So the
drop.
difference of Travis Kelsey and Taysom Hill is just like I
Yeah,
mean
it's crazy.
Hawkinson's really the last
100
one.
points. Yeah.
Yeah, that jeez.
But yeah, so it's like you got Taysom Hill at 83, Tyler Conklin at 82, Tyler Higbee at 82, Gerald Everett at 82, Pat Fryermuth at 82, and then Cole Kmet at 81. So
Guys, for the playoffs, just grab one of those guys and survive. It's
yeah,
just
just hope.
that's it. Because right now, whoever owns Travis Kelsey is not going to give him away.
No, there's no
No way.
reason.
There's no asset in fantasy football in which you can snag Travis Kelsey unless you're trading away
Like Derrick Henry or
Saquon,
something. Like, yeah.
Derrick Henry, maybe Christian McCaffrey. And I say maybe because Travis Kelsey has put up games where he has done better than Christian McCaffrey. And I personally believe that there's more games to come that way for Kelsey, especially now in CMC's new role.
Well, I
But
mean, just that,
that's
yeah, just the positional advantage alone almost makes it
mhm.
worth like just having Kelsey.
That's priceless at that point.
But okay, so quick question: like, would you put Hawkinson as your tight end 3 for the rest of the season then, or does a guy like Dalton Schultz come into the mix,
Okay, Dalton Schultz definitely jumps up. Um, but I like Hawkinson more
or does
than
Higbee
Schultz.
with Cup out for the next few weeks and
I
potentially more?
know.
You don't
No,
like Higbee that much? I mean, he
no.
gets targets. I mean, obviously he
That's
doesn't have the upside, but
I don't
as a
know. Like
floor,
McVay said that Stafford is starting, but I think the only reason why Stafford's starting is because Wolford got hurt too from that
yeah,
game, and
yeah.
now he's not practicing. So it's just kind of McVay is just really gonna push it with Stafford. I bet Stafford's going to be like 75%. So it's like he's good, like if 75%. Matthew Stafford's gone out to play football in a way less percentage than that.
Yeah.
So
Did
it's whatever.
did you see with Stafford that apparently like McVay didn't like talk about whether or not Stafford actually had a concussion? Like he said that he didn't know, like he wasn't diagnosed with a concussion, but he was in
They
the
just
concussion protocol or something.
Huh.
It was super odd. I mean, I don't know the exact quote or anything, but he's like, yeah, I don't even know if he got diagnosed with a concussion, but yeah.
Dude, it's so crazy. Like right when they start losing, they just all stop caring.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, lost season anyway. Oh, Stafford was in concussion protocol.
It's whatever.
Cool. It doesn't even matter. We're not gonna make the playoffs. That's pretty much it. Playoffs are bust, and like that's
Yeah.
their mentality. That's what they built their team mentality on. So I'm
Hmm.
not surprised. That's kind of like how they've gone about business so far.
Yeah.
And with saying that, a lot of people see Cooper Cup being placed on IR heading into week 11, which means he has a chance to come back. Was that week 15, week 14,
Week 15, I believe.
week
He has
15?
to miss 4 games.
He's not coming back this season. I am like
If the
every
Rams are
day.
smart, they'll shut him down.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like if the McVay quote tells you anything, the way the Rams have built their team, I give it like a 90% chance that he is done for the season. And I mean, that 10% all comes from me not knowing Cooper Cup personally and his mentality on attacking football. Or I don't know whether if he values that more than what his doctors tell him. But he was put under the knife to fix his ankle injury. And it's the smart thing for the team to just say, lost season, shut him down.
Yeah.
Stafford's not even 100%. So, hey, if you're watching this and you have a league mate that's not watching this, I mean, try selling him for like, if somebody has hope for Cooper Cup to return in this league, you can grab like at most a very low tier flex position and be happy with it. And just be like, hey, or
Better than nothing.
yeah, I was telling my roommate this. I was like, you could, if there is a team with a really good record, like 9-1 or 8-2 in your league, and they're just like talking crap all season long, and they're like, "Oh, I can't wait for the playoffs. Like, my team's so good." Offer them Cooper Cup, and then they're gonna stash him. You make Cooper Cup someone else's problem, and you just get back another solid player because all they're thinking about is their starting lineup at that point in the playoffs. Try to find someone that is gullible enough to take them and
Hey, if Cooper Cup comes
run.
back,
I don't think that's what the thing is though. It's like if
that'd
he
be tough.
does, if he does, that's already week 15, and that's
The
what is
start
that
of
like
playoffs.
start of playoffs. I mean, I don't, and he might not even be 100%.
Yeah.
Like a high ankle sprain already takes 4 to 6 weeks at minimum to recover from, and now you're telling me that Cooper Cup's going under the knife to fix it. I That's got to be like at minimum 5 weeks. Like that's got to add a week. The surgery process, cutting yourself, like cutting the ankle open. It's yeah. I mean, that's just me being redundant at this point, but just give them away and run. That's my
Just
advice.
run.
Just
Just
run.
run away.
That
Um,
same thing Waller too, but
yeah. Oh, Waller.
I don't think
Um,
Waller. I cut him anyway. No one picked him up in my league. I was like, yep, figure that much.
yeah, I think that's kind of where he's at this point. It's just not looking good.
Mhm.
Talking about a wide receiver though that is coming back, Odell Beckham Jr. His list of teams that he looks to sign with include the Cowboys, the Bills, the Chiefs, the Giants, and the 49ers, aka any contending team that wants him.
Yeah, who do you like the most? I want to
Uh,
actually ask you this two questions. So I was watching the Rich Eisen show today on my lunch break, I guess. And they brought up the topic, if you were Odell Beckham, which team would you go to? And then the other question I have is fantasy related. Which team is the best case scenario for someone who may have already picked up Odell Beckham Jr.?
If I'm Odell, I would want to be on the Bills out of
Huh.
this list. I know they haven't been like Superman lately. They've had a couple losses, but they're still going to be in the playoffs. They're still going to be a force. Um, like, yeah, I could see a reunion with the Giants and stuff, but I don't know if you would want to go back. Um, Cowboys wouldn't be bad either, just because of their defense. But fantasy wise, if I'm want to pick somewhere for fantasy, I would say probably the Chiefs because like there's no true established number one. I know Kadarius Toney just had a good week and everything, but there's no true established number one there. Plus, Mahomes is averaging more passing yards per game than like any other season in his career. Like he's averaging almost 350 yards a game passing. So there's plenty to go around there.
Yeah, I might scare a lot of Kadarius Toney owners,
Yeah,
but I mean, if honestly, I think a
I mean
healthy
Tony
Odell
was a waiver
Beckham.
wire pickup anyway, so it's not like
Yeah, like I guess to be fair, same with Odell, but but like the Odell ceiling, a healthy Odell ceiling is much higher, I believe, than
yeah,
Tony, even though Tony ceiling is already pretty high in the Chiefs. I think that he's got a natural talent out in that field, out on the field. And I don't know. I just kind of favor OBJ just due to experience, health. I know Tony has had a long history of injuries, so Chiefs make sense there for OBJ. For me, if I was OBJ, I'd say either I got two teams in mind. The Cowboys, because I don't know, there's that star is iconic. Like just the star on the helmet, just for the brand
OBJ and a
purposes.
Cowboys. Like if you're talking money wise, then yes. Oh my goodness, he would get so many
Yes, like
deals.
yeah, so many jerseys are gonna be
Yeah.
sent out into the city of Dallas and all across the country. My second team, if I was Odell Beckham, is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I like that. I think
Interesting. I was just
if I
going
am
based on the
Odell,
list that he has.
okay, but
If we're
like I'm
picking
saying, like
other
if I was,
teams,
yeah, if I was like if I was Odell,
yeah.
like if I was Odell, like Tampa Bay Buccaneers is a good one too. I know fantasy related, he won't have that much production, but I mean, just the amount of targets that Tom Brady has in the offense, I think OBJ is going to start
I mean, we
over
saw
Julio
with
Jones.
Antonio last year. It's
Yep. It's viable. I mean, like Tom Brady can support three wide receivers in that offense. Um, hasn't really done it too much this season, but with how well they're playing, they're kind of heating up now. I like that for him. But fantasy purposes, um, I would go Bills. I would go Bills or Chiefs for sure. Um, yeah, I like the Bills. I don't like Gabe Davis as a wide receiver too much. I think he's
weren't you
over.
the one that was on Gabe Davis in the
I
offseason?
was. Okay, wait. I like Rashad Bateman more than Gabe Davis.
Yeah,
I
I know
didn't
that
like.
was a big argument in the offseason.
Yeah,
I was
and
full on Bateman. But
okay, I forgot. I'll have to look back after this episode, but I don't know.
I
I was
may
like,
like a thread or something.
yeah, I was iffy on Gabe Davis. Like parts of me really liked him, and then parts of me realized how inefficient and inconsistent he
Yeah.
was. It was just like a poor man's Mike Williams. And I was like, but
It was like Mike Williams without the 100-yard games. Like it is strictly based on touchdowns, it seemed like.
yeah. And just with that, I was like, how many of those you kind of had to bet, like whether if you liked him a lot or you didn't like him, how many of those games were gonna happen this season? And I
Yeah.
think that's kind of where people drew the line and that's where the disagreements started up. But OBJ is good, definitely provides stability there if he goes to the Bills for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Other wide receiver news: Jerry Judy, mild ankle injury. Haven't really heard a timeline yet on his recovery, but I believe he is likely to miss some time. As we said already, Zach Ertz out for the rest of the year. Very unfortunate for the Cardinals, but Hollywood Brown is back at practice, and he could even play on Monday Night Football. If you have him in fantasy, if you're still holding on to him, don't wait till Monday to see if you can play him or not. Unless you have another option that you could switch to, like a Rondale Moore, I wouldn't be waiting till Monday to see if he's active or not. And
Yeah,
even
especially.
yeah,
Oh,
even
you
still,
can.
then coming off the injury, like, is he going to be good?
There's too many question marks. I mean, I think he will. Like, just fantasy luck. He's gonna put up a touchdown that Monday night if he plays.
Yep.
But throughout the rest of the season too, it's also how is he going to operate with Hopkins, who has by far dominated that wide receiver core and the
Dominated.
target share. It's
Which I mean,
I
to me, it's like Hollywood dominated it before he left. And as soon as he left, that's when Hopkins came back, and then Hopkins dominated it. So now are they just like going to share that? Like, is it going to be 50-50? Is it going to be more Hopkins side? Like, to me, I would say it's going to be more Hopkins side, but I still think Hollywood's going to get his. Like, we've
yeah,
seen Rondale Moore, he's got plenty. Like, he still had viable fantasy weeks.
and I just like I initially wanted to say like who is Kyler Murray going to throw deep to most? And I just like thinking of that, it's like both.
Yeah, both.
If he could throw deep to both, I mean, Hopkins,
Definitely not Robbie Anderson, I'll tell you that.
no, no,
That was one waste of a trade.
yes. But D Hop, he is the jump catch guy. He's great with his hands, field. He could tiptoe his way out of bounds too. But Brown could beat you with speed deep. And there's just so many ways where he could scheme that up. And right now, I agree with you. It's safe to just sit him, and we're not in the playoffs yet. So I guess if you are like really looking for a win, um, I mean, and if you think he's one of your better wide receivers, I'd play him because like if you're like a 4-6 team, yeah, I'd play him because you need to start winning. You need to win out if you want to like get into the playoffs and like make sure you are in the playoffs. But um if you're kind of safe with where you're at or you're in an average spot, yeah, sit them, see how things shake up.
Yeah, and speaking of Cardinals, the Cardinals cut Eno Benjamin by a surprise by many. He was just the starter when James Conner was out a few weeks ago. James Conner, who is known for his injuries, may get another injury, and now they don't have that backup. But the Texans claimed Eno Benjamin and also Amari Rogers in back-to-back days. So they're just loading up on youth, I guess. I know I saw some people talk about like, Benjamin's good for Damian Pierce dynasty value and stuff, which I mean, in a part, yes, I do agree slightly, but not very much. Like, very short term, I think like this is good for Pierce, but it's not going to stop the Benjamin is not going to stop the Texans from taking a running back if they like him enough. Like, that's I don't see Benjamin being the line where the Texans are like, oh, we were going to take this running back, but we got Benjamin, so we're not going to take him now. Like,
And isn't if you pick up a player off waivers, you kind of just sign him for the rest of the year and that's it?
well, yeah,
Or
I
does
don't
the
really
con
know all the legal
might
details of
have to ask Nas
fantasy.
about that, but
Yeah, yeah, we'll have to figure that part out.
but if it is where it's just kind of like if they release him, the Cardinals cut that rookie contract away and the Texans pick him up and he's on the 1 year deal. Um, I this doesn't mean anything for Pierce's dynasty value. But if he does keep that rookie contract later, which I feel like is like 3 more years after this, so it's like 2 or 3 more years. Yeah, 2 more years after this year. Um, That's interesting. That's an interesting pickup, but my gut is leaning towards kind of like a fresh new contract with a new team. Uh, Lays out for the rest of the year. So he'll be gone. I feel like it's very much a this year protect Damian Pierce sort of thing because I know he was banged up a bit. So if he's not like 100%, they're just kind of gonna be like, just to be a little bit more efficient on offense. We're gonna throw in Eno Benjamin here. It's a very like analytical
Yeah.
move
I guess say,
where
do you
it's
see them splitting up their carries at all? Like
no,
potentially taking
yeah,
away any?
yeah. I don't see them splitting carries. I do see Eno Benjamin uh taking more carries than Rex Burkhead,
Burkhead, yeah.
but Eno's gonna probably take at most 4 rushes away from Pierce. And that's about like I'd say like 16 yards, 17 yards. So that's like Pierce losing on average like 1.7 points. So that's my opinion on Benjamin thing.
Yeah. Mario Rogers, does that do anything for you? Not really.
No, no,
No.
I think he's like 8 career catches, 7 career fumbles.
Yeah, it's
I didn't play him a lot
that's
on
bad.
offense, to be
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was on special teams, but
Right.
those numbers aren't looking pretty.
Yeah.
So no
Doesn't add
opinion
up
on
very well.
yeah.
Um, in bigger news, Deshaun Watson returned to practice. He with everything with the suspension, he is now able to come back to practice. Hopefully, you got him off of waivers. If he's still out there, I'd pick him up just because he could potentially still be a top like 5 quarterback for the rest of the season. He could be a league winner for you. So if he's out there, grab him, and if you got him, good for you. I'm being able to stash him. What's so funny for you?
No, it's like if you got him, good for you.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say, I've been trying to mention it every like whenever I can, like stash like Watson because like just like other suspensions, other people coming back from injury, like if you can get him a couple weeks earlier than the rest of your league mates are thinking about him, that's best for you.
Hmm.
Mark Andrews is back at practice. Very good for the Lamar owners that have been waiting for him to come back. I know it hasn't been long; it's only been like a game or two, but
It's
you
been
could
long.
tell. You can
It's
tell.
felt long. It's
Yeah.
felt long.
Um, Also, sad news for Colts fans. Taylor Heineke is still going to be starting for the Commanders, which I don't blame him. He's done very well.
Yeah.
He's done really well. He's really helped out Terry McLaurin. Um, his value has gone up so much since Taylor Heineke has been back because Taylor Heineke actually throws to him. So very nice.
Yeah, I like Heineke for the rest of the season over Wentz too. I mean,
Yeah,
Wentz's unpredictability is just it throws off that offense. It of course makes it unpredictable. Like he could just throw a turnover whenever. And you'll just be like, what the hell? I thought we were doing something good here. Nope. And it's just like they throw it all away. Loss of offensive possession, loss of potential fantasy points. Heineke, I mean, he throws some like goofball throws, but it's not to the extent where it's like game changing like Wentz, where
no,
it's just like first down, pass, throw, interception, and you lose a whole drive worth of fantasy points. So I like Heineke the most starting going forward for sure. A little bit of boost and confidence for the Washington Commanders fantasy players.
and then for our funny moment of this week, the Raiders. This is something that just came out today, but the Raiders apparently cannot fire Josh McDaniels because they cannot afford to be paying him plus another coach. So I'm going to take the under on the win totals for the Raiders next year, is what it sounds like. Uh, yeah, that's rough.
Makes sense. I mean, you had to pay out Gruden.
Gruden, yeah.
That Chandler Jones. I know, like it doesn't necessarily come out of the owner's pocket, but it's like the Chandler Jones contract is like
That's
that was
hefty.
hefty.
Yeah.
Like that was hefty.
Max
Paying
Crosby.
Devontae Adams new contract. Derek Carr's owned 32 million next year. There's just a lot of money. Like Josh Jacobs, I know they didn't accept his
Fifth
like
year option.
the 5th year option. So if they want to bring him on, and he's having a pretty solid year himself, he's gonna ask for a lot more. There's just so many factors into this where there's a mess, really. You can't afford to fire McDaniels because you're gonna have to afford the coach payout, and they can't do that. I know some Auburn fans are a little upset because of that, because they are thinking about getting McDaniels after he got fired from the Raiders, but it's not looking like it's gonna happen anytime soon. Might have to stick with Cadillac.
Yeah, it looks like he's McDaniels is going to be there for at least next year.
Hmm.
Bye weeks this week. We got the Jaguars, the Dolphins, the Seahawks, and the Buccaneers. So quite a bit of offensive
Low,
firepower.
yeah, a lot of low key. It's a big week. I
Big
mean,
week. ETN,
uh,
the Dolphins
ETN
wide receivers.
RB1, two wide receiver ones, DK Metcalf,
Tyler
borderline wide
Lockett,
receiver one, Tyler Lockett, uh, Lenny.
Godwin Evans,
Mhm.
Rashad
Oh,
White.
Leonard Fournette is trending downward. He's like not
Yes.
really much of the RB1 as he once was earlier on the season anymore. But I mean, he's a high tier RB2, I guess. I mean, until
Yeah, I'd say he's
playoffs.
still around there just for the touchdown upside and stuff. He
Yeah.
still gets decent amount of carries and touches.
White's looking exciting though. I like him.
Yes.
He is. Yep,
This is
I
this
loved him
is the
coming
part
out of
of this.
Dynasty too.
I gotta say, this is the part of the season where rookies just kind of like take over. Like I know we'll talk about it in a little bit, like with Pacheco and stuff like that, but it's just like it's just that time of year. Like also Jalen Warren's like getting more touches from Najee. Like it just is that second part of the season where teams are trying to get their rookies more and more involved. Before we move on to our next segment, let me tell you a little bit more about our sponsor, Prize Picks. Prize Picks is a daily fantasy platform where it's just you versus the projections. You can pick more or less on many player projections, such as receiving yards, rushing yards, receptions, and many more on any player on any sport that you watch. All you have to do is pick between 2 to 5 players, and you can win up to 10 times your entry. So download Prize Picks today and play daily fantasy sports with us. Make sure to use promo code BLUESTABLE when you sign up. If you use our code BLUESTABLE, you will get a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. So if you deposit $10, you will get $10, making it $20. If you deposit $50, you'll get an additional $50 from them, which will make it $100. If you download 100, you'll get $100, making it $200 total. So go ahead, download Prize Picks today and use code BLUESTABLE to get that deposit match. But anyway, one topic that I want to bring up was Elijah Mitchell's usage in this 49ers game this past week. He gets activated from IR, he comes in, and he has the most rushes on the 49ers team. That just paid up for Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, that's interesting because I know Christian McCaffrey did out touch him though, correct? Like with the receptions
Yeah,
and
he got
targets.
he got six
Yeah.
six targets as well. So yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, Christian McCaffrey's gonna be used more in the offense every like week by week, but that Elijah Mitchell usage is scary. That is, I mean, for just all that rushing upside that you have with CMC. I know a lot of what makes CMC great is the pass catching role and what he can do after it. But it also doesn't hurt to have a couple of those carries in his back pocket to kind of roll with it, make that floor like CMC's already high floor, a little bit higher, but now it kind of bumps it down a bit. I mean, he still has a ceiling. I'll say this: his ceiling is still equal as it was before this week, but the floor has definitely declined. It is definitely lowered, and he's still an RB1, of course. But if I don't know, like just kind of like ask around your league, see what the CMC fantasy manager thinks of him after
Yeah.
last week. If he's like kind of worried about it, pounce on it.
Take a
If
temperature check.
yes, take your temperature checks around your league on CMC. I took a couple temperature checks, and a lot of my leagues that I'm in right now don't really follow fantasy as closely as I do. So they're all like, oh, he's the best running back in the league. I like him more than Derrick Henry right now.
Oh,
And I'm like, okay. All right.
fair
I've seen
enough.
Derrick Henry's playoff schedule, but okay.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. But yeah, I mean, the thing with CMC is that people drafted him to be that workhorse running back. Like that's what you were expecting when you drafted him in the top 3 picks. Like you were expecting him to get everything. And now that Elijah Mitchell's in here taking a lot of his workload, I know Kyle Shanahan, he said that that's their goal is to give him like 50-50 split like touches for the rest of the season, which is wild to me, but I guess I get it for the team. It makes sense. Um, but either way, McCaffrey, he's still going to get a lot of more high valuable touches than what Elijah Mitchell will. But Elijah Mitchell might not be a bad flex option moving forward either.
Do you know who's not going to be getting any touches?
Who's that?
Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
That is true. Yeah, that is the next thing that we are going to talk about is Clyde Edwards-Helaire is officially done. Like, I mean,
Try
like,
to
what do
warn
you
you. I
say?
mean,
Would you drop him at this point?
okay. I want to first say this. This is a couple episodes back. I said all the signs point to Edwards-Helaire eventual downfall, but the only thing that's keeping him alive is his touchdown
Touchdowns.
red zone usage. I was like, that's the only reason why you're keeping him. And I was like, that's his upside. And I was like, of course, you can't knock a player for scoring touchdowns because if you're going to be using a player, if the offense is using a player in the red zone to score touchdowns, that has some value to it. But I was like, but I also added on, of course, like that's just the drives getting there is where the magic happens and where you know for certain that a player is going to be used and really establishes the fantasy floor. Clyde Edwards-Helaire does not have that. He does not. I knew, like everyone knew it. He did not have that. And now seeing Andy Reid being confident in putting the ball in the hands of Pacheco and maybe sometimes McKinnon, yeah, I'd see if you could possibly trade him like for scraps. Like there could be like a bottom barrel bench player because like right now,
Okay,
especially after after
yeah.
this waiver wire went through, it's got to be dry. It's dry. It's dry right now. Like after this morning, it's dry. Um I guarantee you someone on the like some bad team with a bottom barrel bench is just like they're never going to see the light of day. See if you could trade them CH cuz like there's no point if you're like ever contending, like if you're ever going into the playoffs to have them on your team. Just like it could be for someone like Zay Jones or like
If
I
you
don't
can, if you
know.
can get Jalen Warren for him, like smash
Oh
accept.
my god. Yeah.
I feel
I
like
value
that's kind of a realistic option too. Like I feel like they're like, oh, backup running back on the Steelers who suck. Like, oh, yeah, I'll take Chiefs running back.
I was thinking like worse, like kind of like
Yeah, I mean,
borderline, like
okay,
Matt Collins maybe.
let's say Isaiah Spiller, backup running back there for the Chargers.
No, I'd keep CEH.
I would
I'd
take
keep.
Spiller.
You would?
I
Hmm.
mean, just like if Pacheco goes down, we already seen like what CEH can do, and it's not really that high of a ceiling.
Yeah,
If Austin Eckler goes down, Isaiah Spiller is going to be far more valuable than what
that's
CEH
true.
ever was this year.
That's true. Um, yeah, I don't. It's yeah. I also like that Chiefs offense a little bit more though too. But I understand
Yeah,
your viewpoint on that. Like they're very much equal.
I mean, you can say that you like the Chiefs offense more, but Austin Eckler's still the running back one
Yeah, that's
this
true.
year. So it's like if he goes down, like that's a lot of touches that are gone. Now I'm not saying
Sony
Isaiah
Michelle
Spiller is going
RB
to
one.
receive. Do what?
Sony Michelle RB one.
Oh my goodness, I hope not. We've seen that enough already with enough different teams.
Help.
But yeah, with CEH, it's kind of wild because I mean he is a running back one like every single week for the first 4 weeks, and I feel like every fantasy analyst was on this by saying trade him. But I mean, there was a reason why everybody was saying it because you needed to. Like, yes, he was getting a lot of touchdowns, and yes, with that offense, it could be sustained, but it's very unlikely. They obviously weren't the biggest fans of CEH. They even tried to claim Eno Benjamin as well. So it's like, if they
Yeah.
claimed Eno Benjamin, do they cut CEH?
Yeah, I mean
Like, are they keeping 4 running backs? I don't think so.
that first round contract, even if it's like over just over a million, it's you got a lot cheaper options out there that will do better.
Yeah.
So that's probably what they're thinking.
And I mean, he played what, like 4 snaps this past week? Like, just, he's just done with that team,
Mhm.
basically.
The sell now, like the sell high point, in my opinion, was week like 4. The
Week
last
4, yeah.
time you could have possibly sold him as a high tier, like the high, yeah, just like a high tier asset or his ceiling this season was around like week 7. Not even like it was like week 6.
Well, okay, so his fantasy finishes week 1 through 4, running back 6, running back 8, running back 13, running back 9.
Yep, like that's sell high right after week 4.
Since
Sell.
since then, his highest finish is running back 33.
Whew.
And there's 32 running backs in the NFL, and his highest finish was running back 33 since then.
Yeah. So I was right initially with the week 4, the highest selling point. I guess a better way to phrase it is like the last week you could have sold him
Yeah,
was like after week 6, like after
yeah,
2 bad weeks in a row.
yeah. One bad
That's
week, people
like,
are okay with looking at that over,
yeah, 2 bad weeks, start questioning it quite a bit. And
especially 2 weeks in a row.
yeah, and I mean, could possibly pull like a mid-tier flex player from that. So it's like that was the last week to do anything.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I'm. I hope everybody sold high on CEH when they could because man, that
Do you think he's
was
draft okay? Um, let's say just like out of context, just like so much could happen in the offseason. Like he could either stay with the Chiefs, he's most likely gone after this season. So like let's say he leaves. He leaves to a different team. Is he getting drafted in fantasy next season?
it depends what team he's going to.
Just a yes or no. Just like
I'd say no.
no. Okay.
I mean, I'm trying to think of what team. Like, even if he goes to the Texans, like say CH goes to the Texans, would you be drafting him?
No.
Because I don't think I would. Like, I'd still
Okay.
like Damian
Josh
Pierce is the
Jacob
guy.
Josh Jacobs leaves and he goes to the Raiders. So you got Amir Abdullah, Zamir White. I don't even know if Amir Abdullah is going to be there, but definitely White and CH.
I would maybe take him with like one of my last picks.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
at that point, like okay, like he's surely got to get some touches.
Mhm.
But I mean, even then, that would be bad. Which I mean, it could happen. It could happen, but
They like them more than JT, the
yeah,
Chiefs.
yeah. Wow, I'm glad they did not take him.
Oh my God, thank God.
Thank you, Chiefs. Thank you, whoever told the Chiefs to do that. But anyway, biggest thing that we wanted to talk about today is the playoffs. The playoffs are coming up, and now is the perfect time for you to start looking ahead. If you're still like fighting for your way into a playoff spot, you got to keep fighting. You can't really try to make decisions for the playoffs if you're not already there. But if you're in a comfortable enough position to where you feel like you are in the playoffs, you can probably get a bye. Now's the time to start planning for it. I know a lot of people like do two defenses. They like to hold two defenses. They'll look ahead at the schedules. And while I personally don't enjoy doing that, I know me and Theo are big on like
Yeah,
don't draft a defense, like don't draft a kicker type people. Um, I am totally fine at this point of the season if you want to hold on to two defenses because you see the streaming schedule. I'm fine with it. Like, say you have a guy like Jalen Warren who you're never going to play, and you want to just put another defense who has a better like week 16 matchup rather than holding on to him. I'm fine with it. But now's the time to really start looking ahead to like those schedules to see who you can pick up that has a good schedule.
like for example, I have the New England Patriots in one of my leagues. They're a top 5 defense on the season, but they have a bottom 5 ranked schedule for the playoffs. Uh, they're not a good enough team to fight through that, especially on offense. So that scares me. That also goes for like the Saints too. Like they're a top, like they're one of a good defense. They don't have a good enough offense to really carry them through that playoffs. So I'm definitely looking at the playoff strengths and seeing a mid-tier defense that's still on waivers. And I don't think I'm gonna pick them up now because playoffs are about like four, like what is it,
4 weeks.
4 weeks away? Yeah. I mean, there's gonna
Yeah.
be so
So
many other teams that have buys like coming up, and like you're gonna have league mates dropping defenses. So like the whole rotation's gonna be coming in soon. Like you just gotta be patient on it. But if you do find a defense with a good playoff schedule and you can't pass it up, pounce on it. And to repeat Luke's point, do it when you're in the playoffs. Like if you have like an over like 95% chance or higher to make the playoffs, that's when you do it. You don't do it when you're like at 70 or 60%. Do not.
yeah, if you're at like, oh, what is it? If you're at like I don't know, like 7-4 or 6-4, like right now, like I wouldn't be trying to like look ahead to playoffs just yet. Like just focus on getting there first and then
Mhm.
try to worry about it. But yeah, like I know Theo mentioned the Patriots defense. I'm looking at their schedule. Week 15, they got the Raiders, not bad. Then they got the Bengals, not great, but not the worst either. And then for the championship week, they got the Dolphins, which is not good,
Mhm.
really not good. So yeah, it's. I'm not saying like add another defense this week and hold on to them for 5-6 weeks because there's still going to be injuries that are going to happen. There's still going to be a lot more stuff that's going to happen. But like in a couple weeks here, like week 13, week 14, that's whenever you can start picking up and planning for the playoffs.
But we want you to keep this in mind right now, though, because if a good defense does pop up on the waiver wire, like you
It,
have to be ready.
yeah,
And it doesn't come often. I don't know the bye weeks from now, like how many teams have bye weeks from now until the time of the playoffs, but there's quite a bit. I mean, like if there's a defense that it's dropped, you just got to be ready for it.
yeah. Looking ahead, next week is Cardinals and Panthers. And then good goodness, week 14 is a rough one. Got Falcons, Bears, Packers, Colts, Saints, and Commanders all on week
Like the
14.
Commanders defense. I mean,
Yeah, Commanders have been very solid lately.
here, I'm gonna see where they are ranked.
They're 20th in the fantasy
Yeah. I
playoff
mean,
schedule. It's still
that's all
not
right.
bad though.
But to talk about players though, what are some of your favorite playoff players?
Favorite ones that I want like now, Derrick Henry. If you can get Derrick Henry.
Yes.
I know I was off the train earlier this year, but I'm fully back on, especially seeing his playoff schedule. Goodness, it is so juicy. Like you if you can get him, get him. But also Alvin Kamara. I really like Alvin Kamara trying to, especially because he hasn't been doing that great lately. So if you can get him at a discount, I'd be going for it. But yeah, those are kind of my two favorite running backs for sure. Those are the ones I really looked at.
I like Lamar and Mariota for quarterbacks
Oh, yeah.
for sure. Looking at it right now, this could be interesting. The Arizona Cardinals, and I don't really know how much this really comes into play, but like defense is playing against tight ends. I know the Saints all the time like suck against the tight end. Like every year they suck against tight end. So like there's defenses like that. But Arizona Cardinals have the third best schedule for tight end play. So and Zach Ertz just got out. You have Trey McBride, who is probably going to inherit the pass catching role. So I mean, that's a sneaky pick for me. If you got him on waivers, I don't know how much. Like, I guess kind of see how the playing field plays with Marquise Brown back, Hopkins back. If there's going to be like a Rondale Moore still factor, see if they still utilize that tight end often. Now that Zach
I gotta
Ertz is
say, is
still
Rondale
hurt.
Moore going to get most of that work, or is it going to be
Yeah,
McBride?
yeah. So I wouldn't like quickly jump on the McBride train right now. But if he does get like two consecutive good games of targets, like a 4 target game and a 5 target game, I that's a great playoff schedule play.
I
I
gotta
mean,
say, so to me with McBride, like if you're not the Kelsey owner, and like say you're in a good spot, like I wouldn't mind taking a shot on McBride just because he has a good fantasy playoff schedule, and you got enough time between now and then to see where he fits in this offense. Like if he does great, then awesome. You got a like decent tight end for the playoffs. If not, you can drop him for another defense or drop him for another player, something like that. But yeah, if you're in a good spot, I'm all for trying to grab him, stash him.
do you have any players you hate? I got one I
Uh,
want to get off my chest right now, though. Of course, all of the Rams wide receivers. Looking at it,
Allen Robinson.
third last. They're third last in uh playoff strength. So like a lot of tough cornerback matchups, I'm guessing, for the Rams, and they're missing Cooper Kupp. So it's just gonna be Allen Robinson, who they barely used all season. Van Jefferson and Ben Skoranek. They're running routes, and it's not gonna look pretty during the playoffs.
To me, if you happen to still have him at all, like AJ Dillon, like I feel like he's just going to be done for. Like I don't know if there's any reason to be holding on to. He has more name value than anything to me right now. Um, Running backs, Green Bay Packers running backs have the third worst playoff schedule in the for the fantasy playoffs. So he's already been pretty bad since week one, and I feel like it's not going to get any better.
And I know we talked a little bit before the show about Josh Jacobs and
Yeah.
him being last, but we also I and you agree with me a bit on this that we aren't too scared for that. Like there are some running backs that kind of like persevere through that, right? They just fight through it.
Yeah,
They've shown to fight through it a bit before. Of course, their ceiling does go down a bit, but I mean, like it's not like you're gonna bench them. You can't just bench them because they have a bad schedule.
right.
Like he's been playing well.
Yeah, I gotta say that's a good point to bring up because it's like don't be going into the fantasy playoffs just playing off of matchups. Like looking at
Didn't
the
do.
yeah, looking at the playoff schedules here, like Kansas City has the fifth lowest fifth worst quarterback schedule for the playoffs. You're not sitting Patrick Mahomes. There's no reason to. Like you still are going to start your studs. While yes, you're not expecting the ceiling games, you're still going to have a safe floor with them. Like Justin Jefferson has the second worst wide receiver schedule for the playoffs. You're not going to sit him. You're not going to try to trade him this week. Like you're holding on to him and you're still playing him. While yes, he might not get a 30, 40 point game, you're still probably going to get 20 points from him. Like I you're starting your studs. It's more for like those mid tier, like those running back twos, flexes, wide receiver threes type players that you're really kind of watching the playoff schedule and like defenses, tight ends, stuff like that. That's mainly what you're using this rest of the season, like playoff schedules. But yeah, outside of that, like if if they got you there, you might as well just keep playing it.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't do this matchup thing all the way. Like you didn't do this all the way throughout the season, so why do it through the playoffs? And I get it. You start your studs, but it's also like a case by case basis now because it's elimination time, right? You don't like you win, you continue, you lose, you're done. So this is why we're putting more of an emphasis on matchups because throughout the season you get player averages, and just kind of like you play by the averages throughout the season. But when it comes playoff time and you only have it's a one and done scenario, you need to put in all factors. You need to treat this as the case study it is. But of course, like what Luke said, don't be ridiculous with it. Don't bench Mahomes for Mariota just because Mariota
It's
has
a
a
better
better
schedule.
record. Yeah. Um, there are some players though, if you are smart enough, and that's kind of mean to say, but like if you've been playing this game for a while, you're familiar with the players, you know what players do, like what players are more affected by the opponent they play. One example I gave to Luke was Joe Mixon. When Joe Mixon plays a team and that he struggles against, or like it's like a really good run defense, he doesn't do that well. But then there's games where he plays against a really loose run defense and he just goes off. And that's why you play him every game throughout the season, because even those games where he doesn't do well against those really good run defensive teams, he still gets you like 7, 8 points. And you're going to be more confident with that floor than you would be with someone on your bench. So please just be smart with this. Take the information, ingest it, really understand how you've seen your players go about week by week, and just play smart lineups for the playoffs. I know it's only 4 more weeks away, but you need not to put too much stress on it, but if I know it's some people out there in big money leagues. So start kind of getting familiar with the landscape and like what players are supposed to come like perform, like which ones could have some nice coasting throughout the playoffs. Last week, I think this is like the last week of trades. So
But yeah,
if
this is the last week of trade, so make sure just shoot your shots now
Hey,
while you can.
do some research, find some players, go for them. That's all I got to say for now.
Yeah, I gotta say one more thing that I want to say is like, well, yes, matchups should not be everything. It's still a good thing to use, a good like thing to watch out for. Because I mean, let's look at years past, like David Montgomery a couple years ago. He had a great schedule for the last 5 weeks.
Don't bring him up. Don't bring it. He's my secret weapon.
Secret one, but he went off like a couple years ago. Rashad Penny last year just went berserk. Like Devin Singletary went off. Like Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like there's these guys out there like with favorable end of season schedules that will be league winners, and they're not really big names yet, but they will be by the end of the season.
And I only told you shush because David Montgomery. Because I mean that
Try
one
and
tweet
trade
you
for him.
showed me.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
like just like that one tweet is just like every single time his backup running back got hurt and he was like just the sole RB1, he became like a top 5 running back for the rest of the season. And it's happening again with Herbert being on IR. And it's like,
yeah.
do you bet on that again?
To me, like Montgomery is like the good old Thanos meme where he's like, "Where'd that lead you? Back to me." And like he is inevitable.
He is.
Every fantasy playoff season, we just turn right back to him because he has such a great rest of season schedule, and he is the only guy.
Mhm.
I did see a funny tweet about Montgomery where they're like the Bears' second best rusher, Khalil Herbert, went on IR, so I guess their third best rusher, David Montgomery, better get better.
I
And
mean,
for those
that's
that don't
kind of true.
understand, Justin Fields is the first.
Yes, by far. He's
He
already QB4 of the
insane,
season, which is crazy.
absolutely been insane. Like, okay, so question here: would you rather be starting Hurts or Justin Fields rest of the season?
Hurts.
What about Lamar? That's tough.
Man, I don't okay, because like I am one I am a believer in selling Fields right now.
Yeah, I
I
don't
am
mind it.
because it's very rare where you like and I saw this Instagram post, sorry, I'm kind of like stealing their idea, but I wholeheartedly agreed. So I'm kind of spreading the word on this one, spreading the gospel here. It's very rare when you can pull a quarterback from the waivers and trade him for a skill position starter.
Yeah, yeah.
Fields is that guy. So it's like it's basically a free skill position player you could trade for right now.
You think you could get maybe Mike Williams for Fields? I feel like some
Yeah,
teams might, and
yeah,
that's a
I
great trade.
easily. I'd I'd do that trade if I would trade Mike Williams away for Justin Fields for that one. But I mean, it's very rare. So that's my kind of little spiel on Justin Fields. I know we're kind of running long again, but
Yeah, yeah, like usual. But yeah, either way, long story short, we just want you guys to make sure you guys get prepared for the playoffs. Now is the time of year where you start prepping for it. I know there's still a lot of people are probably still fighting for it, but for those of you that are safe, start looking ahead, especially because this is the last week for trades. Shoot those trades now to get those great rest of season guys. Like maybe there's somebody that needs to win this week. Maybe they have like a Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, Tyreek Hill guy, and you can trade up to get one of those guys. If you can do it, awesome. I'd be going for it. Give them some players that play this week that can help them win now, but help you in the long run. It's stuff like that that you can look forward to, that you can do your research with, that help you for come playoff time. But either way, that will be all for us today since we are running late. It's getting
it's
very
just an
late for
hour
us.
long. It's just an hour long episode. That's fine.
That's fine. It's all good. Hopefully you
We've
guys
done
are
it
still watching.
before.
Yeah. Yeah. If you are still watching, thank you very much. I appreciate you guys watching. But before you guys leave, make sure to like and subscribe, do all that good stuff. Leave a comment, any questions you got, or follow us on Twitter. Leave us any questions. And yeah, I think that is it. Until next week, y'all. Have a good week and goodbye.
Good luck.